Hello and welcome to the video, I suppose. This is going to be ranking Premier League strikers from worst to best. Now, first of all, hopefully the background music is coming out okay, and it's not sort of overcrowding my voice. I'll try my best. If it is, then well, this won't see the live day. But if it isn't, well, congratulations for me. Of anything else, this is ranking Premier League strikers from worst to best, and this is going to just quickly go over the factors. So this will first of all going to count based on goals and assists. We're also going to count based on transfer fee and how many games they've played in total. This is only going to count for Premier League games, so do take that with, it doesn't necessarily show the entire player, but based on purely their Premier League stats, this is how we're going to rank them. And one more thing, this is just an opinion. You might change it, you might go, I don't agree with that, I think that player should be higher or lower. That's fine, just don't come at me, please, because it's just my opinion. Now, thank you, and we'll get started with my least favourite, and obviously the worst. I don't think that's that hard to say, really, it is the worst. Gabriel Jesus, 93 Premier League games for Arsenal, 26 goals and assists. I gave him a 2 out of 10. He cost £27 million. I understand that's not an insane amount of money they paid for him. I get that. But look, I mean, you have to understand, this man is like, for some reason he was hyped up as being like this crazy Brazilian striker. He's going to go to Arsenal, he's going to win the Golden Boot. I mean, his best season was what? He got like 11 goals, I think, in his first season at Arsenal. Second season was awful. This season he's been terrible. There is no future from Arsenal. They'll go and get a new striker, that's obvious. He's been a massive flop. To be honest with you, I would have put 1 out of 10, but I felt a little bit harsh giving him 1 out of 10, because I don't think to be a 1 out of 10 player, you've got to be really, really terrible, and no one's going to be that terrible and consistently be playing that much. So yeah. Also, just to be very clear, this is going to be based on the striker they're consistently playing the most this season. So for some of these, that may mean certain other players may not get as much of a mention. Just be clear, because it's one per club. Moving on to the second last, aka 19th, I put Cameron Archer. A bit harsh, I know, he's only, 22, but he's not a teenager anymore. £17 million. Last year at Sheffield United, he was basically the same. Alright, I guess, at a push, but he's not really that good, is he, being honest? And it sucks to say, but it's the truth. Unless he explodes later on this season and scores a couple of goals, which isn't impossible, I reckon he'll get no more than maybe 5 goals and assists when the end of the season, and Aston Villa will probably buy him and sell him to the next promoted club. I mean, it's genius business by Aston Villa, but is it that good of is he that good of a player? I don't know, personally not. Anyway, next up is Nunes, the most divisive one on this list, I'm certain, and I'm not going to sit here and say Nunes is completely awful, but look, I mean, you have to understand, he's played 74 Premier League games. He cost them £75 million. I was going to pay 85, but apparently that's not entirely true because he hasn't met the performance bonuses yet, which doesn't surprise me. So, right now it is still 75 or something close to that, I think. But he scored 12. So he scored 22 goals. He got 12 assists. 34 goals and assists in 74 games isn't awful, but he came in as, I know it was a bit silly that he did, and obviously this was stupid to even compare him to Haaland, but he was coming in, getting comparisons to Haaland, and nowhere near, absolutely nowhere near. I mean, backup strikers, backup players, attackers at Liverpool have gotten better numbers than him consistently, which shows, and I think unfortunately, the only people who really back him anymore are Liverpool fans, and I think eventually they will stop backing him. Because most of them do still, I know a few don't, but most do. But I think there will come a time where people just stop backing this man, and I think that could be after this season. I do think, especially if they don't win the league. Jimenez is next, and I felt bad about putting Jimenez this low because I think for what I expected of him, he's done better. When he first signed for Fulham, I thought it was a very, very stupid signing, and yeah, they could have done better, but has he been awful? No, he's been okay, and he's had his moments. I mean, he's had some patches where he's been very good. I mean, the start of this season he was very good, trailed off a little bit, but he has still been pretty decent this year. I mean, 13 goals and assists in 36 Premier League games for £5.5 million. It's not that bad. Obviously, he's no Mitrovic replacement, but is he that bad? No, not really. And I think this season he could get double digits in terms of goals. Maybe. It depends, but you know, I hope he does, because I think as a player, it'd be nice to see him sort of have like a great year where he scores a few goals. Because obviously after that horrendous injury he'd had, he's just never been the same player, and it's very sad. But you know, that's how football goes sometimes, unfortunately. But yeah, I didn't think it was fair to put him too much lower, because I think he's been okay. Next up is Højlund, and this one is more to do with the fact that I'm tired of seeing United fans pretending this guy's any good. I'm sorry, he is not. Like, being fair, is he awful? No, but he's an okay, decent player who's going to be what, maybe a 15 goal a season striker. Maybe at a push. I mean, sure, he's young still. I think he's only 22, but has he been a £72 million player? No. Has he looked like he's going to be a £72 million player? No. What he has looked like, for me personally at least, is a future £35 million player for Leicester. You know, what Leicester were maybe 3 years ago, mid-table. He'd be the kind of player that would sign for them. He is not a top 4 contender, even though Man United are not going to be in the top 4 this year. No doubt about that. He is not a top 4 fighting team player. He's probably a Conference League striker at best. And I feel like I'm being harsh here, but I don't think it's that harsh. I don't think he's that good. I don't think there's that many misconceptions that he is. He's alright. He's not awful. I don't mean any ill on him, but you have to look at it. Will he improve drastically? No. And I think United needed to bring in an older striker to compete with him. And maybe he could have learned from that older striker, but Xerxes is not really, first of all, a striker, and he's not that much older. Yeah, I don't know. I think this was a bad signing, especially for the transfer fee, and I don't think it's going to work out. But moving on, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. This is one I felt a little bit bad putting so low, only because he costs so little. I mean, for £1.5 million, you can't exactly say he's not been a success. Being honest, you can't, because 71 goals and assists in 225 games for a £1.5 million player, that is very decent. And you know, fair enough to him. He's obviously had some very major issues with injuries, but he did have 2 probably very prolific seasons, you can argue, and a couple caps for England. I think he's done alright, but you can't really put him much higher than here, and like a 5 out of 10 I think is fair enough. He just needs to stay fit, and unfortunately he's at an age now where he's at the peak of his powers really, and is he going to be able to stay fit to use them? I don't know. Yeah, moving on, Evanilson, another one I felt bad putting so low, but he's only got 4 goals in 11 games, which is lower than some of the new signing strikers I put on here. And I've got to be honest, 4 goals and assists in 11 games is not bad. Like, that's nearly, if you rounded it, that is nearly 1 goal and assist in every 2 games, which is, it's if you rounded it, which isn't bad, but it's also not great. And I think he in time will be better than this, but I have to judge it based on right now. And right now, he's been decent, but he's not been insane, and that's just the truth. But moving on, Jean-Philippe Mateta as well. One I felt a bit bad as well, putting this low, but apart from last season where he had 21 goals and assists, he's been alright. I think that season really propels him upwards, because without it, he would be probably 2 out of 10, but he did really show up last season. And this season, I think he will probably get maybe 10 goals and maybe 2 assists, 3 assists, which is not terrible. He's a sort of Crystal Palace level player. 34 goals and assists in 105 games is not awful. Maybe I was being a bit generous with a 6 out of 10, but hey, I think as well Evanilson will eclipse him by the end of this season for sure. But right now, I feel like you have to give him a bit of respect. Moving on, João Pedro, another one I felt a bit bad putting this low, but there is reasoning. He costs £30 million, 37 Premier League games in total, 18 goals and assists. He's been better. He was really good in the Europa League last year, actually, to be fair to him. I don't think he's bad at all. I really rate him as a player, but the strikers who are on here have just been better, to be blatantly honest. And I don't want that to sound harsh, because I really do rate João Pedro, but I don't think it's fair to say he's been better than a few of the players that are above him. In time, I do think he can, because he's still very young, but right now, I wouldn't say so, no. And then Yohan Wissa I put on here as well, because I would put Igor Thiago, but obviously he has been injured nearly. I don't think he's played once this season. If he has, it's been off the bench or something, but I don't think he has yet. And Yohan Wissa, look, £8.5 million paid. It's 41 goals and assists in 111 Premier League games. I don't think anyone expected him to be a particularly brilliant player, but it's not bad. It's really not that bad. It's on average a goal and assist every 3 games. If you spanned it, it's not quite accurate, I know, but if you roughly did it, 7 out of 10 I think is fair. He's not been terrible, he's not been amazing, he's sort of been pretty decent, and £8.5 million, I don't think it's that bad for Yohan Wissa kind of level player. Went back, sorry. Jurgen Strand Larsen is the next one, and I do need to preface, I really rate Jurgen Strand Larsen. I think he is probably the most underappreciated striker currently in the league, and that's not to say Cunha's not been great, but the reason why he's not on here is because he is a striker, but he is very versatile, and he's not necessarily been playing as a striker a ton this season in comparison to how much Jurgen Strand Larsen is playing as a striker. I think you got to look at 6 goals and assists in 12 games for a struggling Wolves team. Him and Cunha have really been the only 2 players that have showed up. Bueno maybe for Wolves has been pretty decent, but most of them have been pretty poor. And 6 goals and assists is a goal or assist every 2 games. That's very decent for, again, a struggling team. I think that's fair enough, 7 out of 10. And I think, honestly, he could end the season on 16 goals and assists, maybe 18 even. And obviously, I think him and Cunha are going to have a really good partnership. Moving on is Antonio. I mean, begrudgingly, I had to give him a 7.5 because I did not know his stats were this good for the Premier League. I thought they were lower than this, but £7 million, 266 Premier League games, 68 goals, 33 assists, 101 goals and assists. Even I have to admit that is impressive. That is not amazing by all means, it's not world-class levels, but he's been a very diligent servant for them. He's still starting now. Fair enough, there's not much to say. You know, he's cheap, good player, fair enough. Moving on, Chris Wood, 50 Premier League games for Forest, £50 million transfer fee from Newcastle, 23 goals, 1 assist, 24 goals and assist, rating 8 out of 10. Obviously Chris Wood's been really good this year in particular, this season in particular, more than anything else. Will he end up scoring a ton in terms of getting like 20 goals this season? Maybe, but I think it's hard to judge Forest yet if they're going to be a truly serious, like crazy good team, or if they're just going to fall off, because they haven't been amazing these past few couple match weeks. But if they pick up form again, maybe. Same with Chris Wood, really. But as I say, that's nearly a goal or assist every game, every 2 games. Sorry. So you know, it's good. It's good, and no one expected that to be Chris Wood to be quite as good as that by any means. Liam Delap I put here as well because I think it's fair enough. I mean, 12 Premier League games, 20 million transfer fee, 7 goals and assists. That is over a goal and assist every game, and he's getting linked to really big clubs. I mean, I know we've been linked to him as well, which we are a massive club. That's not to say we aren't, but he's being linked to a lot of big clubs. Which is, you know, and I'll be honest, when he first signed for Ipswich, I thought he was going to be hopeless, because he wasn't particularly good at Hull. He really wasn't particularly great, at least statistics-wise, goals and assists, but that's why statistics aren't always the most reliable thing, which is a bit of a bad thing to say, because I'm relying on statistics a lot for this video, but shush. But, you know, I think he's been very decent, and I think he could maybe even have an England cap by the end of the year, to be honest, or the end of the the end of the season. Anyway, moving on, Nicholas Jackson. I fucked up the ratings here, I apologise. I give Lingard 8 out of 10, give Nicholas Jackson 9 out of 10. Or maybe keep them both at 8, I don't know. We'll find out. I can't find out, you know what I mean? But I think Nicholas Jackson's one I didn't quite understand as a player. But you have to look at it from the fact that he cost them £32 million. In comparison to most of their signings, he was quite fucking cheap. And his first season, he was a bit meh. I thought he was good at times. For some reason, he only shows up against us. It's very annoying. But, I mean, you have to look at it. 28 goals and assists in 47 games is very decent, especially for £32 million. I don't think 8 out of 10 is that outrageous at all, and I think he could end the season, this season, maybe in 20 goals, something like that. I think he'd be very, very decent. And, I mean, Chelsea have been linked to a lot of strikers, but maybe he is the striker solution. It's possible. Moving on, Dominic Solanke. I had to get a bit of ton of bias in here. I don't care what anyone says. 10 Premier League games, 6 goals and assists, £65 million transfer fee. I think he's been brilliant. I really like his pressing, hold-up play. Does he need to work on getting a few more goals? Maybe. I can agree with that. But you have to look at it from the fact we have been very inconsistent this season, and he has been rather consistent in his performances and his numbers. Same with Johnson. I think that's really important for a new striker, especially one we've paid so much for. You look at Richarlison, for instance, he was not consistent at all in his first season, and second season a bit more, but only outside of a purple patch he wasn't particularly great. I think, sure, with most of the new strikers you're going to have to take time to make sure that they are exactly what they're showing they are, but I think Dominic Solanke will be fine this season. I think he'll probably get something like 14 goals and 5 assists, 19 goals and assists, I think, something like that for the Premier League, but he might get a few more in the Europa League. We'll have to see, I guess. I think I'm really happy with Dominic Solanke. I was worried about us signing him originally, but I think he's been very good. Moving on is Isak. I think it's fair enough. I think he's probably at least, I think in terms of current ability, he's the second best striker in the Premier League. Unarguably. I mean, 62 Premier League games, £63 million transfer fee, 40 goals and assists. Fair enough, Obviously, I was surprised by how much they paid for him. I didn't think it was that much, but I mean, 40 goals and assists in 62 games is very decent. That is very, very decent. So obviously, got links with a lot of clubs like Arsenal. I think Chelsea as well. We were tentatively linked with him, but let's be real, he's not going to go to the club that he helped spank 6-1. Come on, I would love it, but he won't. He would never do that unless we sort of went crazy good, but hopefully we can, but still, I don't see it. Regardless, I think Isak's been very good, and yeah, I think it's fair enough. Watkins, however, I have put here, and you gotta remember, this isn't just based on current ability, this is based on overall numbers. And the reason why Watkins goes over higher than Isak, well, one, he's played in the Premier League for longer, and as such he's had more time to get more goals and assists, which is fair enough, but he has played for a worse team. And Aston Villa, apart from last season and half of the 22-23 season, were very, very bad. And he was consistently pretty decent. I mean, 65 goals and 28 assists in 158 games for a guy who only cost £33 million, which, sure, at the time was more expensive than it is now. I think that's very decent, and obviously he's been I think he is overrated in the sense people are comparing him to like Haaland, and I think last season he did get overinflated based on numbers, based on pure chance creation at Villa. But if we're talking pure numbers anyway, regardless of anything, that's brilliant. 93 goals and assists is very decent, and price was pretty good as well, so I was still waffling and move on. I put second to Jamie Vardy. Okay, you have to look at this, right? 319 Premier League games played, £1 million for Jamie Vardy by Leicester. What was it, 2015-16? Could be wrong, something like that. 140 Premier League goals, 45 assists, 195 goals and assists. You cannot argue with that. That is nearly 200 goals and assists. For a player that was signed for £1 million from the National Leagues, that is beyond impressive. That's incredible. And regardless of what you think of him as a person or as a player, you have to respect that. That's brilliant. And I was tempted to put him at number 1, but I didn't. And I'm sure you know who's number 1. But yeah, I think credit where credit is due. Jamie Vardy has been an incredible striker for Leicester, and he's still going. He's 37 now, so he's very impressive. But number 1 is Haaland, obviously. 78 Premier League games, £51.2 million transfer fee, 75 goals, 13 assists, 88 goals and assists. It kind of has to be. I know he's playing in a brilliant, well, not right now, but overall still a brilliant side who've been brilliant since he's been here, really, apart from now. Only this month, though, really. Well, a bit of the last month, it doesn't matter. He's been brilliant. I don't really agree with anyone who says he's overrated, personally. Sure, he's not, I wouldn't say, the most big games player in the world, by any means, no. But you can't argue with him being his ability as a pure striker, because it's insane. His numbers are insane. It's very impressive, and I don't understand people who don't understand how good he is as a player, because it's just people getting bored, I suppose, but it doesn't really matter. I think he is number 1. I think he's the best striker in the Premier League. Anyway, thank you for watching. Hopefully I didn't waffle for too much time. Hopefully the audio is listenable over the background music. I will see you whenever I do a new video, I guess.